Hey guys, this is Blue Reality, and today I'm going to give you 50 things you should know about Ashes of Creation. Ashes of Creation is an MMO based in the medieval fantasy world. It strives to combine the best parts of various MMOs with creative sandbox elements. Now you may be wondering, is this game for hardcore or casual players? Well, in a sense, it's for both. Casual and hardcore players will have meaningful progression, giving both types a sense of accomplishment and rewards. It'll never feel effortless or too demanding. The world is going to be pretty massive, being about 480 square kilometers, both land and water, during launch. And to put that in perspective, it'll take a mounted player hours to travel across the entire map. Throughout Ashes of Creation, there will be deep underground caverns and environments to explore, called the Underrealm. In size, the Underrealm will be close to 100 square kilometers. Beneath the world, you'll see mysterious creatures and find new resources. Each server will have around 8 to 10,000 concurrent players at a time, and around 50,000 total accounts can be registered to that server. In Ashes of Creation, a player's actions have meaning, and the choices you choose to make will have consequences. Some opportunities will come and go depending on how you react with the world around you. The dynamic nature of Ashes of Creation is made possible with its node system. Nodes are the centerpiece of Ashes, and they drive all of the content that is available within a server. So what are nodes? Simply put, nodes are preset spots located inside a zone of interest. Advancing a node creates new content within that area, such as villages, dungeons, and new questlines. Every node will have developmental areas, which are places where the building, structures, NPCs, and services will be built or spawned. Nodes have 7 stages: Wilderness, Expedition, Camp, Village, Town, City, Metropolis. When players complete content and tasks within that zone, the experience they gain goes into that node's experience pool, developing each stage when the XP requirements are reached. All nodes in the world can be one of 4 types: economic, military, scientific, or divine. A node type is static, meaning it will always be in the same spot on the map, regardless of the server, and it does not change based on its level. Each node type specializes in certain areas. Military nodes specialize in combat and class training, scientific nodes specialize in construction and craftsmanship, divine nodes focus on skill, faith, and augmenting equipment, and economic nodes focus on trade. Next up is vassal nodes. A vassal node is a node that is enslaved by a more powerful node. Nodes can begin enslaving other nodes starting at stage 3. Once a node becomes a vassal, it must stay one level below the parent. So for certain situations where a vassal progresses is being bottlenecked by the parent node, the excessive XP gained by the vassal goes to the parent XP pool. Being a parent gives you certain control over your children, including their alliance, government, wars, and trade. Nodes can retract or delevel as well. Every day, a node will accumulate a certain amount of experience deficit depending on its level. So in order to maintain a node's level, players must fulfill the experience deficit of that node. If players exceeds this, then the remaining XP goes into the node's experience pool. But if the deficit is not reached, then what's remaining is subtracted from the experience pool. When the experience pool drops below what is required for that level, then a node enters an atrophy state. Citizens will be notified for this and given a chance to address it. However, if they are unsuccessful, then a node will delevel to the previous stage. Different types of nodes can affect the type of government a node will have. Economic governments are run by an elite group whose position can be bought and sold. Military governments choose to rule by combat, but since Ashes isn't built for 1v1 combat, players will be able to build a champion, equipping them with gear and skills obtainable through quests, and the champion that is the last man standing in the arena will grant the owner mayorship. Unlike military, scientific governments are more traditional. They allow their citizens to come together and vote for the mayor. Divine governments, however, choose their mayor by having them participate in quests that directly help them and their nodes to prove their faith and dedication. What do mayors do? Mayors will have to choose the type of service buildings they will purchase in order to keep their citizens happy. Some of these buildings can consist of providing a zone-wide bonus to all of its citizens, expanding markets, or one that increases the node's ability to defend against a siege. What is built can be destroyed. Building a node takes a lot of effort, given that if others want to destroy what has been built, it will take even more effort and work in order to do so. Meaning, if someone were to try to siege a metropolis, it will take a lot of work just to even attempt it, and then the siege itself will be an epic battle lasting around 2 hours or more. The success or loss of that battle will also affect the lives of every person within that world. Now, Ashes of Creation will have 9 playable races that can freely choose any class or gender. Every race, besides a Tolner, will have a parent race. The 4 parent races being humans, elves, orcs, and dwarves. Each of the races will have different base stats, meaning some classes may work slightly better with different races, but you are free to choose any class regardless of the race. At the start of the game, players will have 8 archetypes of which you can choose from. You have a bard, a cleric, a fighter, a mage, ranger, a rogue, summoner, and a tank. Every archetype will have a set of active skills to choose from, and additionally, they will have what is called utility skills, which are passive skills unique to that archetype that lets you interact with the environment. For example, the mage has a utility skill that can destroy certain rocks to open up entrances to new areas. Starting at level 25, you'll have the opportunity to choose a secondary archetype. And combined with your primary, you'll have over 64 classes to choose from. Secondary archetypes don't give you any new primary skills. Instead, they offer 4 schools of augmentation, which enhances the abilities you already have. For example, one school of augmentation for the mage archetype is teleportation, and this can essentially make the charge time ability an instant cast. Ashes of Creation will have a hybrid system using both tab targeting and action combat. You'll be able to use a weapon combo system instead of an auto attack system. Players will be able to upgrade their weapon tree based on their preferred weapon types, and the more skill points you put into that combat tree, the greater the weapon skill. Gear will have 16 equipable slots, 1 range slot, 2 weapon slots, 5 jewelry slots, and 8 armor slots. The gear you have can influence your overall power in-game by 40 to 50%. Gear enhancements, like runes, will let you apply different element effects to your weapon. There are 3 artisan classes to choose from: gathering, crafting, and processing. Your character can only master one of the 3 classes, but you can partake in all of them. Professions are subclasses that are tied to arsenal classes. For example, some gathering class professions are fishing, mining, and taming. The processing class has smelting and animal breeding, and crafting includes blacksmithing, carpentry, and cooking, just to name a few. As mentioned previously, a character can only master one arsenal class. However, your character can master multiple, but not all, professions within your mastered class. Dungeons in Ashes will be primarily open world, with 80% of dungeons being open and the other 20% being instance. The dungeons will be large so they can fit multiple groups at once. Where dungeons form are dependent on the advancement of the nodes. Dungeons will monitor your group's previous encounters with the bosses and then adapt based on your performance. Performing well will increase the difficulty, allowing better loot to be dropped. There will be 4 categories of bosses: regional bosses, raid bosses, dungeon bosses, and legendary world bosses. Legendary bosses will be the only boss type that can drop legendary items. Because of this, it will take a significant amount of commitment and resources to defeat them. Players will be rewarded for exploring. That being said, it's pretty easy to get lost in the world of Ashes. Landmarks will be scattered throughout the world, but fast travel will be strictly limited. The only way to fast travel will be through a level 3 or higher scientific node. Zerging, or doing dungeons or other activities with a very large amount of players, is something the developers are highly trying to avoid. A lack of fast travel and objective-based gameplay are a couple ways to help discourage the Zerg mentality. 5 guild castles exist in Ashes. These will initially be run primarily by storyline NPCs and can later be sieged by a guild. Guild castles will encompass 1/5 of the world and will have control over certain aspects of all nodes within its region, including certain events, resources, and begin to impose tax on all revenues. Multiple guilds can participate in sieges to capture one of 5 guild castles in Ashes of Creation. The guild that contributes the highest amount of DPS on the raid boss will capture the castle. Castle sieges can occur once a month. A guild that captures a castle through a siege will own that castle for 1 month until another siege takes place. There will be a variety of ways to participate in PvP, including sieges, castle and nodes, guild wars, and caverns, which basically lets players transport a cavern from one town to another while the cavern casts the PvP zone around it so the journey won't be uncontested. For open world PvP, there will be 3 levels of flagging: green for non-combat, purple for combat, and red for corrupted. The flagging system is there to promote healthy PvP and minimize griefing by giving corrupted players a number of penalties, such as losing more items on death, having a mark on their head allowing a bounty hunter to track them down, and their skills and stats being dampened. Penalties for dying will be based on your level of flagging and will be the same whether you died in PvP or PvE, but that is subject to change. A few penalties that non-combat players will get are an experience step, lower gear proficiency, and you will drop a percentage of the raw materials you or your mule are carrying. Combat players will have the same penalties as non-combat, but half the rate. A corrupted player will also have those same penalties times 4, plus additional penalties like dropping gear and weapons, which can be looted by other players. Ashes will also have 6 months of PvP seasons. Your score will be based on how well you perform in the various PvP systems, such as arenas, caverns, guild wars, etc. You'll be given rewards such as currency, achievement ranks, and gear enhancements based on your score at the end of the season. Factions will not be a part of the game. Instead, there will be invitation factions that are created through guild wars, node wars, and certain social organization questlines. There will be leaderboards for both dungeons and raids, with some ranks being server dependent and some will be across all servers. On that same note, there will also be interior guild ladders and arena ladders. Well, what about in-game content? With the dynamic nature of the node system and certain content being locked behind how nodes progress throughout the world, there will never be a true endgame. Every month or even week will have new experiences. Events in-game will tie in with nodes and the development of the world. Events are quests that can help fill a need that your world is lacking or promote the storyline. An event isn't exactly optional either. Failing an event will have negative consequences, like a natural disaster, while successful events will have positive consequences. In Ashes, there will be 6 primary religions, which names are unknown at the time. Your character can only be a part of one religion at a time, but you are able to change. They will offer a number of benefits such as arguments and unique titles and shop items. Yes, being an atheist is an option, but you will miss out on a lot of content if you are. 3 types of housing will be present in Ashes: apartments, static housing, and freeholds. Both static and apartments will be located inside of a village, and you're allowed to have one of each per server. Freeholds, however, can be built almost anywhere inside of a zone as long as it isn't near a node's development area, and you can only have 1 freehold per account. Beginning at node stage 3, players can start applying for citizenships of that node. Each character can only be a citizen of one node at a time. At the moment, the only way to gain citizenship for a node is to own a house inside of the node zone. Being a citizen will offer a variety of benefits, like titles, loyalty, and a chance to participate in the government, whether it be running for mayor or just voting for one. Unfortunately, just like any other society, you're going to have to pay for taxes. Taxes go towards a node development, and the amount of taxation is determined by the mayor. There will be many different systems that allow for role playing to take effect, such as social buildings. This would be a great way for players to get involved with the world around them other than just fighting. These social events are normally run by NPCs, but there will be certain rank members that can attend and will give them influence over the organization. Parlor games are player-built taverns, or node taverns. These are games that'll be played between 2 or more players and it'll involve chance and skill. Some may be card games, other may be dice, and you'll be able to bet in-game currency against other players. There's also a managed mechanic as well. This mechanic may unlock different activities that are not available to those who are not married. For instance, unlocking certain node quests, interactions with housing, and even the impact on social organizations. Ashes have 3 tiers of mounts, Tier 1 being land and aquatic, Tier 2 gliding mounts, and Tier 3 are flying mounts, which are called royal mounts. Royal mounts would be very rare, having 10 to 15 per server at once. So there will be about 50,000 accounts per server. That means only 0.03% of characters will have a royal mount at any given time. They're only available to mayors of Metropolis, a leader of a guild castle, or they can potentially be dropped from legendary world bosses. But when they're dropped from the world bosses, they're only going to last 15 to 30 days from the first time you use it. The economy in Ashes will be regional, meaning there will be no central auctioning house, and different resources will be moved across regions, forcing players to move to different locations if they want to gather or purchase a particular resource. 2 types of markets exist in Ashes, markets and marketplaces. They are buildings unique to the economy nodes. While marketplaces are available to construct for all nodes starting at Zone 4, markets offer a few services, including an auction house to post resources and process goods, sales certificates for private property, Tier 1 mule training, hunter posts, and stalls for players to set up their own personal shop. And marketplaces are more limited, only offering a few stalls and a few trade benefits. In order to help deal with inflation and power creep, Ashes will have 4 kinds of item sync. 1. Items lose durability when used. 2. Over-enchanting can potentially cause an item to break. 3. You obtain certain recipes and craftable items when you deconstruct an item. And 4. A portion of a node's or cavern resources are lost when destroyed. I just want to say thank you all so much for sticking around to the end. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button, and don't forget to subscribe for more. Bye guys!